All right, guys, we're back after a long time with another episode of Ex-Vicarious with Jahin Tanvir. So I've been super excited for this one for a couple months actually. And I just wanted to start, mate. Just wanted to ask you how you doing today and how's the new year been?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I've also been excited. We obviously spoke last year and we had to sort of push back this recording for a while. So I'm keen to get this conversation rolling. It's been a good start to the new year. It's obviously quite chaotic in the first, I'd say, 3 months of every year.
Yep.
And in many ways, if it's not busy, then I feel like something's going wrong. So it's been good busy and enjoying the journey so far. So
Yeah.
all okay.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like a lot of the listeners out there as well would resonate with that. Like busy is good, which is why they would want to see guests like yourself. Yo, by the way, if you're new here, let me quickly tell you why I even do this podcast. In one sentence, it's because I believe life is wasted if you're not doing everything you can to make your wildest dreams come true. This often means going against the crowd, taking unconventional career paths, and building the mindset that makes you a millionaire, Olympian, red carpet actor, or even the queen of a food empire. Those are the exact people I interview so that you can learn from them and turn your own wildest dreams into reality. If you're a regular listener of Ex Vicarious, it'll help me a ton if you like, subscribe, or share this round. So thanks for being here. Let's get back to this week's guest. I just wanted to start off with a little bit of things that I was wondering, right? So I saw on LinkedIn you have 31 work experiences, and are you 24 now?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
so 31 work experiences by the age of 24. And, before you get into how you even managed to do so much at once, I wanted to ask which one of those 31 experiences have been the most pivotal before founding the Australian School of Entrepreneurship?
I mean, on paper, it looks like a lot, but I would say it's a little misconstrued because if you actually look at the experiences, I
Yeah.
would say 85% of all my experiences up to date have been volunteering gigs,
Mm,
which is by design. So I went to university studying something that I ended up not really enjoying.
yeah.
And when you're at uni and you're studying a certain subject, you don't really have any skills or experience. Nobody would hire me for anything. So
Mm,
most of the experiences that I have are volunteering. I don't think I was properly paid in any roles. I'd say up until 4 years ago, the first couple of years since I graduated high school were mainly volunteering gigs. So as flattering as it looks in terms of experience, I would say most of them were volunteering gigs. In terms of what I would pinpoint as a transformational role, I would definitely say when I started my own company when I was about 21 years old,
yep.
I was still at uni and I had the chance to intern a few places, volunteer at a few places, but I very quickly realized the quickest form of professional and personal development is
Mm,
entrepreneurship. Starting your own thing teaches you more about yourself and your potential and what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate more than any role or any, I guess, employee engagement that you can have in any company. So I
mm.
would say if I was to pinpoint on anything that really changed my trajectory of my career and find out my own strengths and weaknesses and areas of growth, it would definitely be starting my own thing when I was about 21 years old, still at uni.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what about those volunteering and internship experiences made you realize that, if you really wanted to grow at an exponential rate, you had to start something of your own?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was at university, my academic background's in optometry. So my healthcare journey was straight out of high school. I felt like I wanted to be in medicine and healthcare. At the time when I was at school, it felt like the right move. It felt like a very stable, safe. My parents enjoyed that I studied that. So I was like, I'm on the right track. Very quickly realized it did not fit my personality at all. I wasn't enjoying it. And so, as any broke uni kid in first year, second year, you don't have much experience. You'd either work at retail or fast food or start volunteering. I had a short stint at McDonald's for the first couple months when I was at uni. Quickly found out it was miserable. It was very daunting as a job, and I felt like I needed more skills to, really get to those places where I want to work. So I started volunteering at, you name it, any youth organization, any mental health charity, anybody who would have a general at email. I would send an email to say, hey, I'm 18, I'm 19, I have no experience. Can I volunteer and learn from you? Warmest regards,
Mm,
Jahin. I sent that email in bulk and I very quickly realized and learned a lot. Don't get me wrong, I was a very curious kid. So anytime I would learn from a manager or a volunteer coordinator, I would genuinely be interested to learn those skills. But I very quickly realized what I wanted to do, what I enjoyed doing, what I didn't enjoy doing, what I
Mm,
found tedious. And eventually I got to a stage where I was just like, I've culminated a lot of things and I feel like I know what my passion areas are. What if I give entrepreneurship a crack? Right? It was lockdown, life was miserable, the whole world felt like it was falling apart. What could go wrong? Right? And I was just like, let me give it a crack. So I took everything I could find in terms of all those volunteering lessons and started my own thing. So I would say that a couple of years of volunteering in many ways was daunting because I wasn't paid anything. It was a lot of energy that I was disposing, and it was tiring. I burnt out quite a lot, but it taught me a lot about what I want to do and what I don't want to do when it comes to my career and going forward.
yeah, yeah, no, I love that. And for other people younger who are super curious, would you recommend them do the same thing, like just apply to a bunch of places and volunteer?
100%. I genuinely look back at my life and I would say from 17 years old since I graduated high school to about 21 years old, I wouldn't say do it like me. I think I volunteered like full time hours, which in many ways I had no option. Like I just wanted to learn. I was so eager to upskill myself. But I would say have a healthy level of volunteering,
Yeah.
not necessarily just to, learn skills and network, but it's a good thing to do. You know what I mean? Like you've got a lot of energy at a young age. You can give back to some really incredible causes that require volunteers. A lot of
Mm,
volunteering organizations are vying for people to support. So from that lens, absolutely, it helps quite a lot in terms of community service, supporting other organizations. But from a personal point of view, I always look back and I'm just like, when you're employed and you're getting paid for your hours, the barrier to entry to do certain tasks and the bandwidth you have to make mistakes is very, very, very low, right? You're getting paid for a certain task. If you don't perform, you'll be replaced. If you don't
mm,
perform, you're not doing well. But when you're volunteering and you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart and it's very much in kind, your barrier to entry and ability to experiment, iterate, be creative, really let your personality shine and try your best at things that you've never tried before is so much higher. Your capacity to do that is so much higher. And I think that's so much more freedom that you get
mm.
to experiment, try different things, and realize what sticks. So, in many ways, I would say if you have the capacity, don't burn out, take care of your mental well being. But volunteering is definitely a viable and, in many ways, fun option to try different things.
Yeah, having freedom as a learning benefit from volunteering, I hadn't considered that before, but that's really cool. Bit of a right turn. I wanted to ask, you've been on live television multiple times, so including ABC's Q&A and The Drum. How did it feel going on there, knowing that you're not only representing yourself, but also the community of, Gen Zs in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, my experience with TV and media, I would say when I first started, it was quite daunting. It was frightening. I was, I think, 20 years old when I had my first ever TV interview. This was straight out of
Mm,
lockdown, and I was very much the pressure of, oh my God, if I say something wrong, I'll get cancelled, or I've got so many people watching, or
yeah.
what will my friends think if I stuff up, or I would say at the beginning, when you don't have experience and understanding of why you're there, you do overthink a lot. And I would say
Mm,
at the beginning, it was quite nerve wracking. Even though I felt like I did what I was set out to do, it
yeah.
was the nerves that was quite high. But then eventually, the more you do it, the more media training you receive, the more you sort of understand the media landscape, you kind of realize that the pressure isn't really there. Yes, in many ways, and in many unfortunate ways, on TV, you're there representing a demographic. So for me, in many cases, it was young people, it was Gen Z. In many cases, it was multicultural young people, being South Asian.
Mm,
So, yes, in that capacity, there is a level of responsibility and accountability, but also it's just like you're there for a reason. You're there to deliver a key message. And whether you represent people or not, you're sharing your own lived experience that
mm,
people have a collective struggle with or understand and resonate with. That's all that matters. As long as you can get across your lived experience and the messages you are there for, will people resonate with is out of your control. So control the controllables. That was, I guess, the main media lesson I learned from a lot of media training. I get media training every single year just to make sure that I'm
right.
still sharp and I understand the landscape and the changing landscape. So yeah, I would say at the beginning it was quite difficult being a young person, but then as I got older, I experienced a lot more. I had a lot more mentors from the media landscape who gave up a lot of their time to mentor me and support me and give me tips. It became so much easier, man.
Yeah, now that's awesome. I mean, you mentioned you were 20 years old when you first did that, and there was some nerves leading up to it. And then I'd imagine when you started your first business, same thing, there would have been some nervousness around taking that leap. Can you compare the two feelings to me? Was it a similar type of fear you felt like you used similar mental models to overcome, or were they quite different for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say they were quite similar in the sense of whenever I guess, look at fear in itself, what is fear? Fear is your fight or flight. You know, it's the same emotions that you get when you're excited about something, whether you're going on a roller coaster or you're going live on national TV, your body's response is the exact same. And so, in terms of my mental models, I wouldn't say they're identical, but they're quite similar in the sense of I know I'm nervous. Why? Because I care about this opportunity. Not because I'm worried of what my mate will say or if I stuff up and I'll get cancelled. It's because I
Mm,
genuinely care about this work and the voices I'm representing and the communities I'm representing. So I need to reframe that fear into excitement. And that's the only way I'll survive this and tolerate this nervy energy that I have, which is normal. So I would say my mental models are quite similar in the sense of I try to reframe that anxiety into excitement, to the idea that I get to do this instead of I have to do this. Like I always have a choice. I can say, no,
mm,
I don't want to be on TV and talk about this topic, or I don't want to start my own business. I want to be an optometrist. Like it's a safe degree. I always have a choice. And I think that's a very liberating thing that allows you to realize, no, I can do this or I don't have to do this. But the fact that I choose to do this and I feel these nerves, in many ways, pressure is privilege. I get to do this and I want to enjoy it as much as I can. So I would say that sort of mental model has really shifted me a lot, and also learning from a lot of people. I think, as I mentioned when I was on TV, it was quite nerve wracking at the beginning, and then I had coffee with a lot of these producers and TV presenters who have been doing this for 20, 25 years. And I would always ask them, hey, do you still get nervous? And the genuine response every single time is every single day. And when you
mm.
sort of get that perspective, you realize, who am I to be nervous? Like I'm just at the beginning of this. These people are seasoned veterans, professionals. They're famous human beings in Australia. Their metric for success in media is so great. If they're feeling nervous every single time, I reckon I can feel some sense of nerve here and there.
Yeah, I love how you reframed it, you know, as a certain fear you have, or nervousness because you care about how much that opportunity means. And yeah, naturally that means the rest of the framing is positive. So I absolutely love that. I wanted to go back to your first business that you started. So for people who don't know, can you touch on what that was and the reason outside of, you know, you wanting to accelerate your own career, but, you know, the reason for a more external side of things, like what was the impact you wanted to have?
Absolutely. So I was 21 years old, still at university. I think I was second or third year university, and I wasn't enjoying uni at all. And I felt like I needed a side hustle or a creative passion on the weekends just to stay sane, because
Mm,
I just wasn't enjoying uni, and it was just so tedious. So I started a company called Breathe. So Breathe was a social enterprise all around teaching little kids, so young people, public speaking. Me growing up in Australia, I felt very disenfranchised. I felt very mute. I felt very socially anxious, being a first gen migrant. You know, I just felt so much fear of judgment. So I thought, since I felt very voiceless, why not help and support little kids? You know, feel that confidence, communicate effectively. 3 in 4 people have fear of public speaking. So I thought, why not help the next generation speak confidently? So it was literally just supposed to be a weekend side hustle. Started in COVID, and I was just like, how do I get customers? My background's in healthcare. I've never done a business subject in my entire life. How do I do this? And
mm,
so I started on TikTok. At the time, TikTok was blowing up and everybody was dancing and, you know, a lot of entertainment. But I was like, I can't dance to save my life, but I can speak on the camera and provide some educational content. Why don't I
mm,
carve out a niche for myself in terms of public speaking content? So I
yeah.
did TikTok for about 3 months during that lockdown period, all around how to speak more confidently, how to get over stage fright, how to do a TED talk, all these things. And in many fortunate ways, that sort of blew up. Got a bunch of customers through TikTok through that funnel, and then that translated into workshops, programs. Started doing public speaking trainings at schools, at different corporates like Canva, Commonwealth Bank, Toyota, all from the funnel of TikTok, which is quite random. And yeah, just did a lot of that. I was a one man band doing it by myself, still at uni, until that company got acquired by the ASE Group. And then it was a very easy option to be like, do I want to do this by myself and burn out completely, or have a team behind it and do not just public speaking, but every entrepreneurial skill for a young person possible? So yeah, that was sort of my journey there, where I started when I was 21, did it for about 6 months or so before the AAC group in many ways came and saved my life because I was burning out like crazy. But now I get to do this with a great team in every part of the country.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So you mentioned, the TikToks. Was when you started getting clients from making those TikToks, was it just because you had a consistent presence carving at that niche that you mentioned? Or was it certain ones that went viral and reached a lot of people?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely a mix of both. So my content was, at the time, I had no serious intention of blowing up TikTok for business. I just wanted to make some noise, create some buzz. I had no idea this would be a funnel into sales. At the time, I didn't even know what sales was for a business and how important it was, but it was just whatever I felt like I wanted to hear growing up, I would create that content. So, for example, growing up, I always had a stutter. It was a genuine issue I had since I was in primary school. And so I would create videos on how to overcome a stutter or how to
Mm,
manage your own stutter. I had a lot of stage fright growing up when I was at school. So I was like, let me create, small content, like 30 seconds max, on strategies to cope with stage fright, for example. So it wasn't necessarily I was looking at trends or anything. I was just creating content that I wish I had from that sort of
mm,
personal experience. And at the time, putting trending songs in the back of it, that was the tip I was told that would blow up your profile. So I just did that. I had no strategy to it. I was genuinely having fun, and it was like a creative outlet for me. And in many ways, I always go back and say I got quite lucky in the sense of a few videos did blow up to 2, 3, 4 million views, and that did create a funnel to my other videos of that doing well.
mm.
But there was no real strategy to what I was creating. It was more so I experienced this myself. There's a problem for me. If I want to solve this problem, what would I have wanted to learn from a young age?
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned how Breathe got acquired by the ASE Group, and then you were like, okay, I'm happy to have a team behind me and take this a lot further. Can you take me through that transition period and what you were feeling at the time? Like, was there anything you were worried about? Obviously, because at the time you owned everything about Breathe, and it was all your baby, as you said. Was there any hesitation there, or were you just completely happy to start spreading your wings with the ASE Group?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was. I don't know if you can swear here, but I was scared
Oh, I'll go
shitless
for
more
it.
than
Yeah,
anything.
say
More
whatever
than
you want.
anything, I was scared beyond scary as can get, man.
Mm,
Like, I became CEO I think 1 week after I turned 22 years old, and before that, I had no full time experience of any job. Like, imagine going from uni, like just studying and drinking Red Bulls in the library and memorizing diseases of the eye, to starting your own thing on the side on the weekend, to having a full time job where people are holding you accountable for results, performance, KPIs. I had no idea what I was doing, at least for the first 6 months. And
damn.
I don't look back at it with, in many ways, I chuckle when I look back at it because I was just like, I was a kid. Like, I had no
Mm,
idea what I was doing. I just had my why, my North Star, that I'm really passionate about this. And with time, I'll figure it out. And in many ways, I would very much give credit to my team, in particular the leadership team. They were, I would say, very patient with me. If I still survive here 3 years in, to teach me the ropes, to be understanding, to provide constructive feedback. And I feel like over the years, I've learned really quickly. I failed a lot, don't get me wrong, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm always one person that fails quickly and fails cheaply. Like, I
mm.
know that failure will come and I'll make a lot of mistakes because I have no experience beyond. I've never had a full time job before. This is literally my first ever full time job is at ASE, which is ironic when people hear about it. But I knew I was going to make mistakes and I wasn't afraid of it. Yes, it felt bad. Yes, I had sleepless nights. Yes, I had to go for a lot of walks to reflect. But I realized if I could fail really quickly, I can learn really quickly and
Mm.
genuinely adapt into the role. And I would say this is my third year at ASE. I genuinely, hand on heart, feel like I've grown into this role. I feel like I understand a lot more than I did back then, and I feel like the results show that. But in many ways, it was a very humbling experience because I had no experience at all, and I had to sort of learn and crawl and go through those growing pains. And I still feel like I have a lot to learn, but but seeing the change, I'm definitely very grateful for the people around me, for the mentors around me, and especially the team around me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, from the outside looking in, would never expected that that's how it felt, especially for the first 6 months, as you mentioned. But I did want to touch on, how you mentioned failing quickly and cheaply. So, are there any of these failures, quick fails that you remember that really helped you, improve at a faster pace?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say especially at ASE. And I experienced a bit of this at Breathe, but I would say the first year at ASE, obviously a big component for a successful CEO is how do you build partnerships, grow the company, make sales, all these things. If you're not building the company, you can't pay salaries. The business will literally sunset and break and implode. So I would go on these partnerships calls and try to build the brand, and I would always, in many ways, very subtly be rejected for my lack of experience and my age. And it wouldn't be very direct, but it would be very much ascertained. Where hey, yes, we love the work that you do, but I feel like you're a bit too young for this collaboration, this partnership. And they were very nice about it, but I felt like I rejected myself anytime I would hear that sort of feedback. Where I'm just like, I can't do this. I'm too young. I've got this question mark on my forehead. Will I ever be able to, meet these demands? Will people take me seriously? Like I'm too young. Like I'm horrendous. So I would say a lot of internal battles I had where anytime somebody would even mention my age, being in my early 20s, I would buckle. I would try to fake it, try to not mention it.
Mm.
I would be like, no, no, no. Like I've got experience. Like I would be so insecure about it and work from a place of anxiety. And in many ways, I'd reject myself. Before anybody would reject me, in
Right.
many ways, they're just being nice to me. I would reject myself because I felt like my age was a weakness. I mean,
Mm.
it took me a while to overcome that. And now, once you overcome it, everything feels like the world feels like your oyster. But I had a lot of self limiting beliefs because I felt like my age was a weakness.
Yeah, so in terms of that age part specifically, because I know a lot of young entrepreneurs. That's one of the things that they worry about. They just think, okay, I'm so young, I look young, people are never going to take me seriously. How did you get over that, and how did you build evidence through your own actions that that wasn't something holding you back?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best way I was able to overcome it is understanding why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, in many ways, when you first get into a role, you want to do everything. You want to impress everyone. You want to achieve all the success. You want to have these lovely Instagram posts and be like, look at the life I'm leading. Until you sort of realize every organization has a place, every mission has a purpose. And fundamentally, when I look at the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, we are here to engage young Australians and upskill young Australians the best we can. The best way to engage young people is to be young yourself,
Mm.
right? Yeah, if I'm an 80-year-old person trying to teach someone public speaking or leadership, a young person will not resonate with that person at all.
Mm.
But if I'm 22, 23, 24, teaching a young person who can be like, hey, I can be like you in a couple of years. I want to listen to you. You understand me. You're Gen Z just like me. That's when I realized, hey, this is why I'm doing this. Not because I'm here to make as much money as I can and work with some cool companies and put it on my LinkedIn. It's because I want to genuinely leave a mark on this industry. And once I realized our purpose and why we're working with this demographic and why we're that demographic, I sort of went into every meeting just being so confident and understanding that, hey, yes, we don't have experience, but the people we're working with also don't have experience. So
Mm.
let's engage and have that lived experience and create something beautiful together. And you should see the partnerships meetings we have where they're just like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let's do something. So I think it was more so addressing my self-limiting beliefs and understanding why am I doing this? What is my why? Once I realized my North Star and understanding why I'm doing this, I realized, hey, that's a strength, not a weakness. Let's double down on that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. And on that topic of helping upskill young Australians, I read that the focus is on teaching essential adulting skills not covered in traditional education. So, what specific skills do you see young Australians lacking the most?
Absolutely. So I would say the main skills that young Aussies are lacking, which I wouldn't say is a fault of their own at all, is soft skills, employability skills, or what we like to, I guess, term it, if you look at any ASE lingo, is life skills.
Hmm.
So things like public speaking, emotional intelligence, financial literacy, things you don't get taught at school or uni, not because it's a fault of the school or uni. There's just no time. When a teacher's teaching biology and physics and English, they don't have time to teach a young person how to manage their own money or how to do taxes or how to resolve conflict or how to grab a coffee with someone when they're having a networking event.
Hmm.
They don't teach you that. And we went through, as young Aussies, we went through school and uni being very book smart or being disengaged, but
Yeah.
also never learning adulting 101. So
Hmm.
that's sort of our lived experience. And we want to be able to provide those life skills, those soft skills. So anything you can name from, how to manage your own money to diversity and inclusion, all the way to even things like virtual reality and AI, they're typically not soft skills, but they're life skills because in 2025, if you don't know how to use AI, to support your own business or your own growth or find knowledge in, you're going to be falling behind. So in many
Mm.
ways, it is a life skill, knowing how to use AI, virtual reality. So we call it life skills education, but fundamentally, the soft skills that I guess people need to not only start their own business, but also just be a really good employee. Whatever the goals are, we try to tailor it to as many young Aussies as possible.
Yeah, I really like how you included AI in this group of life skills because the way I see AI is it's basically the next electricity. You know, like there's companies who are saying like we don't want to use this, but then if you think about when electricity first came along, there probably were also companies like, you know, we're not going to start using this, and now they're all gone. So it's just something that is going to be literally everywhere. And one thing about schools is they actually try to make you not use it as much as possible, which I do also understand. I wanted to tap into that a little bit and see your perspective on things, especially like how you teach it. Because if we go, the younger the kid is, the more they use AI before they develop some fundamental skills, such as like the ability to write, it would impact their ability to learn those fundamental skills. So how do you think you can balance those two to make sure they're using AI to the extent where when they enter the workforce and it's everywhere, they're still going to know how to do it and benefit from that, but it doesn't actually prevent them from learning some fundamentals?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that's quite a packed question. I've got a packed answer for you, but fundamentally, the way we try to deliver our workshops, programs, events, any consultancy work we do is very much that youth led perspective. So we've got about 40 plus program facilitators who are on the ground in every single state and territory across Australia. And if you combine the average age of everyone who's delivering the programs, it's about 23 years old, 24 years old. We've got about 5, 16-year-old employees as well. So
Mm.
anytime we're delivering a workshop, whether it's 3, 4 facilitators in a room, at a school, at a local council, at a corporate, at a library, wherever it is, that youth engagement element is very much starting off with people and young people who know how to use this and the importance of it for good, right? So that's sort of number one, to make sure that the youth engagement area is there so that young people understand that, hey, the people who are teaching us don't see AI as a bad thing. They're actually using it as well. And they understand they're in my demographic, they understand my social determinants. So I would say that would be number one.
Mm.
Number two, really understanding the demographic we work with properly, like inside out. In many ways, when you work with young people and see the reports of youth engagement in the last 5, 10 years, the words co-design is very much a buzzword. It's always thrown
Mm.
around where young people are involved. But unfortunately, as somebody who's been the young person in those consultations when I used to volunteer, everything I would say of, hey, this is what I care about, this is what we should do more of, it would be heard, but it would be put into like an impact report or an annual report at the end. That's it.
Mm.
There would be no actions to it. It would just be there for the sake of it. And we sort of, as an organization, understand that as being the people who are in those workshops participating in it. So we try to always have that positive lens of how can you serve your community, whether your local community, your global community, wherever your ambition levels are, how can you serve the community? And we very much understand that in particular Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they are born in the internet age. They are born in the digital age. They don't know a life without smartphones, iPads. They're
Yeah.
literally grown up here, right? They don't know a world without the internet. So instead of us being afraid of it and blocking it, let's actually educate them on how to use it for good, whether they want to start their own business, whether they want to create projects in their local community, whatever it is, what can they create good in their community, whether it's local, global, wherever it is, how can they do more of it? So we sort of double down on the idea that we're young people, we know what young people want, and also whatever we're teaching, whether it's AI, public speaking, emotional intelligence, whatever the life skill is, they can use it for good and be a good citizen. Again, whether it's in the local community, whether they want to go international, whether they want to start their own business and raise capital, that's their goal. We don't care what
Mm.
their goal is. We're here to equip them with the skills that are relevant for them today.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Love the packed answer. And I wanted to ask, you know, beyond being the CEO of ASE Group, you know, you're a professional speaker, you serve on multiple boards, and then also angel investor. So when you have so many different commitments at the same time, how do you make sure you bring your best self to each one?
Tough question. Tough question. It's something I'm still trying to figure out myself. But I would say number one, it would definitely be understanding again why you're doing something. I was definitely in that realm of being a young person where I just wanted to stack my resume. I just wanted people and my people back at school to be like, hey, he actually did something with his life. Look how many things he's done. And as adrenaline pumping as that is in the moment, you sort of realize it's very hollow. If you
Hmm.
don't really want to do something and it's not like a heck yeah, I'll do it, you're just like, oh, I've got this on Wednesday, I've got this on Thursday,
Hmm.
far out, I've got to do this. It's not fulfilling at all. If anything, you burn out. You hate it. You start dreading it. And so anything I do, whether it's through my day job at ASE or speaking at an event, my decision making process is always, is this a heck yeah or is it like a no? It's
Right.
never in between. It's not like, yeah, I'll do it, or yeah, if I have time, or maybe send me an email and look. The moment I hesitate, that's when I know my future self is going to regret it. But the moment I
Hmm.
say heck yeah, I'll do it, maybe I can't do it now, but maybe during this month or when it's a bit clearer. But heck yeah, I'm in. I'll only make those decisions. So understanding and really being open and honest with what your why is. Why are you trying to achieve it? You can't please everyone. So might as well do the things that bring you fulfillment after a long day. And number two, and this is something I've very much still work in progress, you got to take care of yourself. That's something when I was 19, 20, 21, definitely did not do. I loved my late night, grab a coffee, grab a Red Bull, work, hustle, grind. Like I love this culture. I've always loved the startup culture and I feel like it's
Hmm.
very cool, but it does not give you capacity to take care of your family, build relationships, because in many ways that takes a back burner. And for me as a person, I need people in my life. I love people. I am
Hmm.
a very people's person. So if I don't take care of that and take care of myself, I will be miserable. So really finding hobbies that you can switch your brain off on, that's one of my biggest struggles. How do I switch my brain off? Very recently I realized sports. Sports helps me a lot, whether it's going to the gym, I do a bunch of Muay Thai. I play cricket a lot with my mates. That's when I can switch my brain off, and that re-energizes me, and
Hmm.
that allows me to show up 120% to my any commitment I have. So number one would definitely be finding your why. Why do you want to do something? And number two, making sure in the best way you can. It works differently for everyone else, but try to take care of yourself to the best of your ability. Not cold plunges in the morning or what works for TikTok reels and Instagram reels. What works for you, and double down on that.
Hmm. What? Whereabouts do you do Muay Thai?
I do Muay Thai in Southwest Sydney. So I'm a Western Sydney boy and I do Muay Thai in Liverpool.
Yeah. Is it just training, or are you like working up to like fights? Have you had any fights?
No, I haven't had any fights yet. I do want to. So
Yeah.
there's a tournament in Thailand in September, which I've got on my goals wish
Right.
list to achieve. My mother isn't happy with it. Nobody in my personal life is happy with that prospect. So we'll see if I follow through. But it is a goal of mine this September. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, mate, you got one person happy with it. Speaking to him right now. No, I actually do Muay Thai as well, and haven't done a fight yet. But similar to you, like always been trying to get to that point where I feel ready, and I'm sure you know like the amount of training it takes to get to that point is probably the biggest barrier when you have a lot of stuff going on in your professional life. For you, how, because you mentioned cricket as well, how do you work those things into your schedule?
I would say it's really difficult in the sense that I don't always get to go to cricket. I don't. I would say I always go to Muay Thai because I thoroughly enjoy it. But things
Hmm.
like cricket or sports, I sort of realize I need these things to switch off. And my biggest struggle in life, if I was to unpack my life, is genuinely I just always think about work, which is a very common thing when you're young, when you're hustling, when you're an entrepreneur. But I realize if I'm always thinking about work, my brain has no capacity to think about anything else. And
Hmm.
for me to show up, I need things to switch off. So I intentionally, in many ways, block it into my calendar. I add other people's calendar invites to those calendars. So, for example, if I've got Muay Thai on a Thursday night, if say I don't go on Thursday night, the only person who will be sad is me, right? I'll feel accountable. I feel like I can rationalize with myself and be like, oh, I've got a lot of work, I've got traveling. But if I've got three mates in that similar calendar invite and I cancel it, I will get three phone calls, very violent phone calls,
Yeah.
being like, why are you canceling it? Who do you think you are? Like, and these are like close friends of mine, right? Since I've known in high school. And I do
Yeah.
Muay Thai with them. So having accountability and working your life around in a way where every action is a consequence, but also your ownership of the things you do are what make you who you are. If I'm a person of integrity, I will follow through Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Muay Thai, I see my mates, great. But if I don't follow through, that means I don't really have much integrity. So what does it say about me as a business person or as an entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to be a role model, right? So
Hmm.
making sure I've got extreme ownership, And if I don't do something, and if I don't follow through with someone, again, I'll hear it from other people that I've, shared that accountability with. But also, what does it say about me as a person? And integrity is very important to me. My parents raised me in a way where that they always told me the biggest currency that you have in this world is your word. If you don't, follow through with what you're saying to other people, you will, not be the person you want to be. You're no leader. So more than money, more than ROIs, if I give you my word for something, I want to follow through, unless I'm like in the hospital, for example.
Yeah, yeah. No, that I'm gonna start doing that as well because like the with OzTag, which is a sport I do, it's a group sport, so it's built in that accountability of other people in the team if you're not turning up for no good reason. But yeah, Muay Thai, it has been harder because it's just like, you just rock up yourself. But I'm gonna try that. Add some mates to that calendar invite. That's a really good one. Cheers for that. I also wanted to come back to some of the more serious questions, but in terms of those advisory boards, um, and for the Red Cross, for example, do you recommend other young people trying to get on these advisory boards as well? And if they did want to, like, how can they get accepted to it?
100%. I think anytime you have the opportunity to join a group, whether it's an advisory board or a youth council or a board, like all these buzzwords that are there, I would highly recommend, especially if you're young, because what an advisory board is, yes, you have a responsibility to advise the organization, but it's your own personal think tank of advisors where if you need advice or want to learn something from someone else, you get that in that incubator of that advisory council or board. And I've had some of the greatest mentors in my life to this very day were part of the advisory group that I very naively, as a 18, 19-year-old, put my hand up, had no idea. I just had my laptop, walked into the room, and I was like, "Hi, lovely to meet you." And they were kind enough to introduce themselves, mentor me, support me when I had no idea what I was doing or advising. They told me, "Here's what the structure looks like. Here is what strategy is." And so if you really want to learn from people and in many ways pick their brain, like I know pick their brain is a very buzz phrase these days. What does it actually mean? It's very hard to if you're just cold emailing someone.
Hmm.
Youth advisory boards or councils or boards in general, they have these people who want other people to pick their brain. So
Hmm.
meeting really cool people with different personalities, with different experience levels, with different levels of energy, like even just a lot of my personality, I always say, is a culmination of the people I met in my life. And before 18 years old, I was at school, I was in my bubble. My personality was very stagnant. Like it was just the
Hmm.
same. I was a very quiet kid, shy kid, responsible kid, but very shy kid. Until I actually started getting out of my shell and I volunteered a lot. And my personality these days, in terms of my the way my hands move, the way I make eye contact, my tone of voice. I've picked up small things that I really like from people over the last few years where I'm like, you make eye contact really well, or you change your tone of your voice really well, and it shows a lot of charisma. And I sort of picked up on these things, and that's my personality now, where the greatest things I felt in terms of people speaking with me, I just picked those things up and made it my own. And so I owe a lot of people I've met for the person I am today. And so a big source of that is literally joining and volunteering for a lot of advisory boards like Red Cross, like World Vision, like the United Nations, all these different places that are accepting. And the only way to join them is literally go on LinkedIn, search up youth advisory boards or youth advisory councils. They're always hiring, and it's mainly cohort based. So every year it changes, or every 2 years people change. So there's always opportunities. You just have to start one, and then you start meeting other people who are like, "Hey, I'm on this board as well, or I'm in
Hmm.
this council as well," and you're just like, "I want to join. Tell me when's the next time." And you sort of just join 7 boards, and you're like, "Well, I'm learning a lot. I'm
Yeah.
tired, but I'm learning a lot." So yeah, it's a good experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And how you mentioned you pick up these little things such as like the tone of voice where you wanted to incorporate that. Is that just through hearing it a lot and seeing it in action, or do you actually ask them like how do you communicate that way? How have you taken those things on?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a mix of both. So me growing up, I was, as mentioned, a very shy kid, a very traditional migrant kid who never wanted to talk because I was afraid of people's judgment. And I always used to look back and, hated the introverted me. I was just like, oh, I couldn't talk. I used to stutter a lot. I hated it. But then I sort of realized, and as I became an adult, like when I was mute and I was not talking and didn't want to engage, I learned a lot about active listening because I wasn't talking. I was just observing my teachers, my friends, people on TV, and I was just observing their cues, their body language. So I became really good at observing how people are, like what's something I'm gravitate towards. Like if they
Mm,
move their hand in a certain way, I'm gravitate to that person, and
mm,
compared to somebody who's got their arms folded, and I'm not gravitated to that. So I think a mix of both. Growing up being very quiet, I learned the skill of observing, active listening,
mm,
and then the more I got out of my shell and started to implement that and execute that, post high school, I would definitely ask people, not in a weird way, but I would, in the most nicest way, be like, "Hey, you did this with your hand a lot," or "When you communicate and do this presentation, you do this a lot. Is there a reason, or is that just your personality?" And in many ways, it would be a reason behind it. They'd say, "Oh, I get nervous a lot, hence why my legs are positioned this way," or just to get over, I guess, get my voice louder, I would speak in this way. And there would always be a reason for it. And I would say 60% of what I would hear would go through one ear and out the other ear, but 40% I would be like, oh, wait a minute, that's a very cool technique. Why don't I try it the next time I talk to someone or do a presentation on my own? And if it worked, I would make it my personality and keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, and then learning from other people, iterating, keep doing it, and that would become my personality.
mm. That's really interesting, and you keep going back to this, how this notion of how you used to be shy as a kid, but nowadays you're speaking on stages, you're a CEO, you're talking all the time, right? Do you think you're an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, I feel like I'm always tossing between both sides. I would say it's a tough one. I would say if I'm being honest with myself, I would say I'm naturally an introvert.
Hmm.
I really do like my own time. I like processing things. I like being in my own space. But I also like being extrovert when I need to.
Hmm.
And so I'm in a bit of a middle in that sort of ambivert area of the spectrum where I would prefer to just enjoy my own time and at a campfire, that's sort of my vibe. But I can also switch it on and off. So I
Hmm.
don't really have a proper answer for you. I feel like the older I get, I am becoming a bit more introverted, back to how I used to be, because I sort of get a bit more tired easily,
Yeah.
and I sort of realize, I want my own time. I want to do things that I enjoy more. But my job requires a lot of extroversion, a lot of high energy, but I enjoy it. So I would say I switch it on and off depending on when I need it. And both versions are extensions of me. None of it is fake. None of it is like, oh, Jahin's this at work and this at home. They're both same versions of me. They're just extensions of me whenever I need to turn it on.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting, and I think it's super helpful for any younger people out there who are quite shy, knowing that you can still have a really big impact, and you can still be literally speaking on stages, doing TED talks. I guess once you figure out what can get you a bit more confident to be talking more, because a similar thing for me, like always been quite shy and quite quiet. And I mean, like doing a podcast definitely helped me talk a lot more. You got to do a lot of asking of questions
Mm.
and chatting. So I really like the way you delved into that.
Yeah, and I would also add to that as well. Like when I was growing up, I always saw being introverted as a negative thing. And I
Mm,
think society, in many ways, makes you believe that if you're
mm,
quiet and shy, you're not influential, you're not a leader, and the stereotypical leader is the loud person, the extroverted person. The moment they walk into the room, they're loud, and in your brain, for some reason, they're
mm,
the leader. And I sort of had to break out of that show and realize, no, actually, both sides have their own strength. As long as you can communicate what you need to communicate in the most effective way possible, whether you're soft spoken and you can connect with people better, or you're loud and you can get people energized, both are leaders. It's just
mm.
your way of communication is the most quintessential part of what type of leader you are. So I think most young people don't realize that being introverted isn't a negative thing. It's just your personality. And as long as you can communicate it well and your needs well, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Like everyone has their unique superpower for sure. Before we get to the quick fire questions, just wanted to ask, what's the earliest dream you remember having that stayed with you to this day?
Oh, earliest dream. It's quite ironic. You've just mentioned this already, but I would say the earliest dreams would definitely be being on stage in front of thousands of people. And
Right.
again, I say it ironically because that was what I hated. It should have been a nightmare. Like the concept of public speaking and talking to another human being was like the worst thing I could ever do growing up. But for some reason, every time I would go to bed, I'd be like, maybe one day, maybe in another life, I could be this person on stage. It's the worst thing ever. I can't do it. I'll never be able to do it. But maybe one day. So I would say growing up, and this is me in primary school, all the way from primary school, I'd always dream about the idea of being on stage with a microphone, the idea of being influential, that somebody would actually care to listen to me. That was something that I felt like it was a fever dream, but I would always dream about it because I don't know, it gave me a lot of joy that maybe in another life I could potentially do it if I was able to. So yeah, it's very ironic, quite poetic, but yeah, it's just life, eh?
Well, I mean, it's awesome. You didn't have to wait till the next life. You're living it now, which is really cool to see. Now to the quick fire questions. What's the biggest rejection you've overcome?
Oof, definitely been told by some very big companies that I'm too young, and that this was mainly during Breathe, being rejected of, hey, yeah, this sounds cool, but I think you're a bit too young to speak to our managers or people at our company. So I would say, yeah, rejected because of my age.
Hmm. What's the weirdest job or task you've ever had?
The weirdest job or task I've ever had, I would say the weirdest one, if I think back at the 34 experiences that you told me, when lockdown happened, for some reason, I was put as an advisor on the Department of Health's COVID communications task force.
Right.
Now, that's a mouthful. But because I was doing a lot of volunteering and youth advocacy work and working with young people, I got a random gig as an advisor for every, back in during COVID when all
Yeah.
the messaging on TV and on the news you'd hear about COVID and on like Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
What does the message look like? For some reason, I was in the task force representing young people and what do young people want to listen to as an advisor. So I would say that was quite weird. Yes, I had a healthcare background, but I was definitely not experienced enough to, do COVID communication messages for the entire damn country.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was a bit of a weird one, but a cool one nonetheless.
Yeah. What were the suggestions that you had during that time?
Yeah, I mean it was mainly they would send like media communications, so like infographics or what they're gonna say in the news tomorrow, what the premier or the minister will be communicating and be like, would young people resonate with this? Should we twist the words a little bit? Should we say it like this? Like in the nicest way, not in a
Mm.
in a bad way.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say, oh no, say it in a nicer way, or this is gonna cause more fear. And this was
Yeah.
me during the lockdown with my AirPods on in my room with my gown on, like because at the time your beard's grown, there's no haircut,
Yeah.
and I was just sitting there like just telling people, yeah, as a young person, I think this would be quite frightening. Don't do this, and I was getting paid for it as well. So it was a very odd experience, but it just showed me that again the age thing where you're not too young to do anything. You've got a purpose and a place as long as you find that purpose and place.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What a story. I mean, and the next one, if you had to live your life following the words of one single quote, what would it be?
If I had to live my life with one quote, I would definitely say "fail forward." I'm a big quote fanatic, and I always keep coming back to this very simple quote: "Fail forward."
Hmm.
Growing up, I was always told, "Bounce back. Whatever you do, build resilience. Bounce back." The older I get, the more I realize that's a rubbish piece of advice for anyone. Because why would you want to bounce back to the same place you were? The
Hmm.
reason you've fallen and the need for you to bounce back is because you failed.
Hmm.
Instead of bouncing back, fail forward, right? Don't just go back to where you were. Learn from it, process it, understand why you failed, and then fail forward. So I would say that would be, if I could live by anything, don't be afraid of failure, fail forward, fail forward.
I love how simple it is. Literally just two words, and the comparison would bounce back. It's that changing of back to forward. No, no, I love that. If you could reach everyone in the world for 30 seconds, what would you say?
If I could reach anybody in the world for 30 seconds, I would definitely say, especially for young people, the biggest industry secret I ever learnt, and I've had the fortune to, and very humbling experience to be mentored by some of the biggest, awesome people on the metric of success who've done a lot, like billionaires, CEO of sports companies. They've got about 400,000 employees, all these things. The biggest secret I've learned to this very day is every single person is figuring out as they go. Not a single person, whether they've got a role or experience or age, has it all figured out. There are new challenges every single day, and all these human beings that we admire are still figuring it out, and they're also comparing themselves to other people. So you're allowed to feel anxiety, stress, nerves, feeling lost. That's all part of the process because every single person you admire is still trying to figuring out, and they've got five other people they admire, who have 5 other people that they admire, and the list goes on and on. So that's what I would say if I had the chance to broadcast a message to everyone.
What a good message. I love that. Just as a final thing, Jahin, I wanted to ask, for people who are interested in yourself, want to connect with you or learn more about the ASE group, how can they get in contact?
Absolutely. I would say LinkedIn is the best bet. I am a big fan of LinkedIn. In many ways, it changed the trajectory of my career. The whole idea of building in public and putting yourself out there. So if anybody wants to say hi or grab a coffee or wants to collaborate on anything cool, please do connect on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Don't be afraid to send a message. Even if it's a hi, how are you? I will always respond back. So I'd say LinkedIn would be the best bet, or any social media. I would love to connect.
Love that, Jahin. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. I might follow your advice there, message you on LinkedIn, and see if I can get a Muay Thai session with you. And mate, it was such an awesome chat. Thank you so much.
Likewise, man. Always down. Have a lovely rest of your night.